All right, what is going on, guys? It's Dex, and this is a Marfoogle News Update. We have some developing news to go over, so sit tight, and I'll be right back after this. Today's show is brought to you in part by Energy Solar Generators. We all know power's importance during an outage or any survival situation, and having electricity can save a life. So head over to marfooglenews.com/energy, spelled with an I, to learn more about the most sought after solar generator. Protect yourself and your loved ones today. That's marfooglenews.com/energy. INERGY. You get a discount and we get a small commission. Use code Marfoogle. As most of you know, Adam is working on a project and we're doing our best to keep the fam updated across both channels. Speaking of channels, as a reminder, you are watching the main channel known as Marfoogle News. If you are new here, make sure you also subscribe to our sister channel, Marfoogle TV. Here on News, we typically produce shorter, shareable content, and over on our sister channel, Marfoogle TV, that's where we host our nightly, long-format shows. We'll return to our regular schedule in just a few days. So let's get into the news. Ahead of the visit of the U.S. Representative Speaker Nancy Pelosi to Taiwan, state-backed Xi newspaper The Global Times on August 2nd said Beijing has decided to close most of its airspace in the Fujian region, which is closest to Taiwan, as part of a military exercise carried out in the region. As of August 2nd, flights at the airport in several cities in Fujian province, including Xiamen, Fuzhou, and Guangzhou, have been partially canceled according to the Xiamen Airlines, citing regional traffic controls that's been reported to the Global Times. Now, this seems a bit extreme. Is Xi suggesting that Nancy's going to invade the mainland? It's probably more of a tactic to upset the locals and reinforce their negative narrative against the U.S. and our allies. In anticipation of Nancy's arrival, Taiwan's tallest building, the most iconic landmark, Taipei 101, was lit up at 9 p.m. in anticipation, basically welcoming Speaker Pelosi's visit to Taiwan. Now, the big question we were all waiting for was she really going to land? And apparently she has. So Nancy Pelosi did land in Taiwan amid the threats of military activity from Xi's country. She landed in Taiwan late Tuesday night local time, making her the highest ranking U.S. official to visit the island since Newt Gingrich in 1997. Her plane touched down in Taiwan at approximately 10:45 a.m. Eastern time. Xi has repeatedly warned the U.S. of consequences over the last few days if Pelosi decided to visit Taiwan, which regards Taiwan as a renegade province to be annexed by force if necessary. So they don't really think of Taiwan as a separate country. They really believe it is part of China. Xi warned President JB in a phone call, and I think Adam reported on this just recently, that the U.S. must not play with fire. And if we do, we're going to get burned. And that was a quote. Don't play with fire when it relates to Taiwan. In a statement after her arrival, Pelosi said, "Our visit is one of several congressional delegations to Taiwan." So several. I mean, we know about one or two that have come through in the past, but they weren't necessarily congressional. I think they were appointed by the president, but they were unofficial delegations. So this is one visit of several congressional delegations to Taiwan, and it's no way contradicts the longstanding United States policy guided by the Taiwan Relations Act of 1979, where U.S. and Xi joint communiques and the 6 assurances. The United States continues to oppose unilateral efforts to change the status quo. End quote. So that's what she had to say right after she got off the plane. Now, apparently Xi is furious, and we heard all of this rhetoric. We've been reporting on it for the last few days about whether or not she was going to go and what he was going to do or not do. So plenty of red lines were thrown out, lots of strong words were thrown out. But now Xi is furious after Pelosi lands in Taiwan and promises, quote, all necessary measures, end quote, to defend itself. So Xi roundly condemns U.S. involvement in Taiwan and says all consequences of Pelosi's trip should be borne by the U.S. The People's Republic of Xi released a lengthy statement Tuesday condemning the arrival of House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to the island of Taiwan. The Xi Ministry of Foreign Affairs published a statement which the Xi government accuses Pelosi of undermining the relations between the two countries and encouraging quote-unquote separatist forces for Taiwan's independence. So, and to quote it even more, this is a serious violation of the One Xi principle and the provisions of the 3G U.S. joint communiques. It has a severe impact on the political foundation of the Xi-U.S. relations and seriously infringes upon Xi's sovereignty and territorial integrity, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs wrote. So this is all in this big statement that was published today, and I'm going to continue quoting it. It says, "There is but one Xi in the world. Taiwan is an inalienable part of Xi's territory, and the government of the People's Republic of Xi is the sole legal government representing the whole of Xi's country." So obviously, a lot of words there. Basically, what they're just saying is the same thing they've been saying all along is, hey, you can't treat Taiwan as a separate country. It is part of our country. You shouldn't go there without our permission. But we did anyway. And it's kind of interesting because I was wondering all along, was this, were we going to back out and make China look strong, or were we just going to go in there and call their bluff and see if they would actually do anything? Now, as of this recording, I assume she's still there. We haven't heard that she's left. So it's still possible that things can happen. It's still possible that more may come from this. We could actually see something later after the fact from Xi in retaliation, as opposed to in a direct response to the action that's happening now. But let me continue a little bit more with the statement that came from the country, Xi's country, specifically from the foreign ministry. No country, this is a quote again, no country, no forces, and no individual should ever misestimate the firm resolve, strong will, and great capability of the Xi government and people to defend state sovereignty and territorial integrity, and to achieve national reunification and rejuvenation. Xi will definitely take all necessary measures to resolutely safeguard its sovereignty and territorial integrity in response to the speaker's visit. So, by the way, she didn't just fly in, presumably on a single plane all by itself. I'm under the impression, we haven't been told exactly what the escorts were like, but there was a lot of military support. I assume they had at least nearby planes up in the air if they needed them. We don't know if they were literally flying beside her or if they were just watching radar, and if other planes came in the area, would they then move forward? We do know specifically that the USS Ronald Reagan and a strike group are currently positioned right there near Taiwan. They left port in Singapore on Tuesday, and they moved out into that area, and the Navy spokesperson actually confirmed that. But they also said it was a planned trip. And of course it's a planned trip because they were planning to go up there to help support Nancy if something big happened with this event. So by the way, it's not just her. Pelosi is actually traveling with a House delegation that includes House reps from New York, California, Washington, Illinois, and New Jersey. And I promise you, they're all probably her cronies and friends that are on her side of the aisle, although we don't get into the politics here. But that's sort of it. So right now we're in this position where we're wondering what's going to happen next. We haven't heard that she's left. I imagine shortly we'll hear that she's left because she's not staying there for a long time. She hasn't stayed any of the other locations. Some of the places she stopped in for a lunch, for a few hours, for half a day, maybe overnight. We did hear reports before this that her staff had hotel rooms. So obviously they came in the middle of the night. So they were going to probably go to sleep and have a day worth of work and effort, and they will probably leave the next day, which will be later on, probably tonight. So we'll find out. We'll hear more as this goes. And so stay tuned. As we will update this intel over time, we'll do it on our website. We'll do it online here on our channels, both Marfoogle News, Marfoogle TV. Either myself or Adam will try to get you this information as quickly as possible. The easiest way to get that is to open the description. So open the description here on YouTube, and you can click on the show notes link. You can also just go to marfooglenews.com and click on the thumbnail for today's show, and you'll get to everything that I just talked about, and you'll find out any other information that we've been updating. So, hey, also in that description, you can find all the links to our affiliates, including EMP Shield, marfooglenews.com/EMP, Energy, marfooglenews.com/energy, and that's spelled with an I, or My Patriot Supply, marfooglenews.com/prep, where you can get long-term survival food and water filtration. Again, if you forget those links, which I just told you, just open the description. They're all right there below, or head over to our website, marfooglenews.com. So we want to extend our sincerest gratitude to each of you that helps support our independent operation. You guys are the backbone, and we can't thank you enough. So with that said, stay tuned. We'll be back with more updates shortly. Be safe while you guys are out there. A lot of things are happening. We don't know exactly what will come from this, how much of this is staged, how much of this is organic, how much of this is just a bunch of rhetoric flying back and forth between these two countries. But obviously, it is pretty hot at the moment, and we kind of have to see when things are going to settle down, or are they going to escalate from this point. So stay tuned. We'll be back with more. Much love to all of you. I appreciate you being here, and Dex out.
Feed the haters to the alligators. Your way or the highway. See you later. B.O.D. is the homie and Mr. Vader. If it wasn't for you, I would never made it. Whole city's covered by the cremated. Now they listen to what we were saying. Doesn't matter if the manufacturer or created. But now.